Three, two, one. This week from GNC Week in Review, powered by GeekNewsCentral.com. California might shut down Uber. Motorola may have an event in September, and the Xbox Series X launches in November. Those are some of the tech news stories from this week. And it's Friday, August 14th, 2020. My name is Kirk Corliss, along with
Scott Ertz.
And this is episode 66 of the GNC Week in Review podcast, part of the Tech Podcast Network. It's Tech It's Here. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. We are streaming live at gncweekly.com/live, as well as Facebook Live. So please be sure to say hello in chat or comment. Also, be sure to subscribe to the GNC WIR channel on YouTube. If you missed a live video, that's okay. You can always catch the replay later. If you are a listener, please be sure to subscribe to the podcast we can find on the right-hand side column at gncweekly.com, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, your favorite podcast app for Android, or other podcast apps, the comment, be it on social media or email, and it all can be found at gncweekly.com/connect. A little bit of light tech news this week. Before we jump in with the tech news from this week, just a little update on the podcast awards. We are asking our listeners and viewers to nominate the podcast under the technology category and the people's choice category. Unfortunately, I just looked, I checked the nominating list or the nominating ballot, and we didn't make it. Wah wah. That's okay. So we all definitely appreciate sharing the posts that we created. Going into, I spoke with Todd last night, and he said that we did well. So I'm not sure what that means, but nonetheless, we do appreciate all of you that nominated our show. We're definitely going to put that our best foot forward, and we'll put in for it next year to get to be nominated, and then the nominating committee and all that good stuff. So I'm a little bummed, but that's okay. Life goes on.
You know, the first time with F5 Live, the first time we put our name in, we didn't make it, and the second year we did. So you know, that's maybe next year. That's the thing. Maybe next year. We'll spend this year focusing on the show, and then next year we'll see if we can get on the list.
Yep.
We were, in fairness, you know, we were up against some pretty big names to make the list. I mean, The Verge is on here. We're not. we weren't up against nobody like when F5 Live made it. There was nobody on the list at the time, but yeah, there's some big names. The fantasy for the People's Choice, it was even tougher. So you know, we'll regroup and try again next year.
Yeah, there's always a room for improvement, you know, and that's why, again, I want to make sure that, because we enjoy doing it for our listeners and viewers, it's like F5 Live, because tech is among us, and we want to bring the news and discuss about it and have good or bad agreements or disagreements. It's all gravy. So, but I'm still enjoying it, and we're going to look forward to this year when it's done with all the stuff that's been going on. But so 2021 is going to be a banner year. So strap in. We're going to have a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to jump in with the tech news from this week, and the top story yesterday: Uber CEO Dara Khosrowshahi. If I'm mispronouncing this person's name, I deeply apologize. Told MSNBC that if Uber is forced to classify its drivers and employees, Uber will temporarily suspend service in California. This can happen in a matter of days, and Uber could remain shut down until November, when California voters will be able to vote on Proposition 22, which could keep drivers classified as sole proprietors. Kurashi said in an interview, quote, "We think we comply by the laws, but the judge and the court find that we're not, and they don't give us a stay to get to November. Then we'll essentially have to shut down Uber until November when the voters decide." Apparently, this all started last fall when California Governor Gavin Newsom signed the State Assembly Bill 5 labor law. The legislation was to fix the gig economy by reclassifying workers and employees, but companies like Uber and Postmates quickly filed lawsuits calling the move unconstitutional. Assembly Bill 5 was supposed to be going into effect on January 1st, 2020, while Uber said it made changes and believes in compliance. The state feels otherwise. Earlier this week, California won a preliminary injunction against Uber and Lyft, and we have some Lyft news a little bit later. They had an okay quarter. The court order could block the companies from classifying drivers as independent contractors. Uber and Lyft were given 10 days to appeal the ruling, and if things not go in their favor, Kurashi, wow, this name is like killing me.
It's way too many consonants, not nearly enough
vowels. Right. See, again, says Uber will temporarily suspend service in the state. For me, this is something that's really kind of like difficult because I think the reason why, and if I'm wrong, correct me on this, but isn't like the Uber, like they are contractors. So as far as them classifying as an actual like employees, they're not entitled to benefits and 401k and things like that, right?
Right. Okay. They do not work for the company. Right. That's the thing. And that's the thing that makes the gig economy work is the fact that everybody's a contractor. You work on your schedule when you want, if you want. The company cannot say you must drive from this time to this time. You must deliver food from this time to this time on these days. They're contractors. They cannot force you to work on any given day or time. Also, you get paid for the labor that provides value to the company. And I have done contracting in the software engineering world for a very long time. This has been my life as well. And I knew what I was getting into. You know, this is how contracting works. You are your own business. You are your own person. And, you know, you get to do whatever you want. If you're an employee, there's a number of things that become a problem. First, you would not be able to drive for Uber and Lyft concurrently, which is currently what all of the drivers do. All of the drivers are signed up for both services. And if they're not currently in a call, in a ride, and Lyft comes in, they take the Lyft call. If Uber comes in, they take the Uber call. But if you're an employee and on somebody's clock, you can't be on two. There's no way that'll work. So you'll be stuck on a single call, but you're going to get paid minimum wage instead of per ride. You know, you're going to lose all of the incentives. I know people in this area that are doing it's not Postmates, maybe it is Postmates, that I've seen them, they screenshot their weekly take, and you know, they're hourly, they're doing $18 an hour. I guarantee they're not going to pay that. They're not going to pay that as an hourly wage if they're employees.
Right, and I know for me, working as EP executive producer for Keeping Central, I'm a contractor, and it's good. I mean, the money is part time, and I totally get it. You know, I knew going in what it is. But also, on the same token, is that I have no problems with it. Versus if I have to put in my resume, then that's a whole different kettle of fish. But the good thing is also too is that, you know, as a contractor, you know, anything that I purchase, you know, like for example, this laptop or things of that nature, you know, I can write it off. So it's the
business expense because you are a business.
Right.
So in the case of Uber and Lyft, car maintenance. Right. Which would not be the case. You'd get, maybe if you're still driving your own car, which may or may not be the case, you'd be dealing with a per mile thing, but they're going to keep an eye on your miles versus your number of drives. And, it's going to get real expensive for the company, and it's going to get real inconvenient for the drivers. The experience is going to go to crap real quick. Riders aren't going to be happy. Drivers aren't going to be happy because now you're on a clock and you have to produce. And if you don't produce, you get fired, which is not how it works now. So long as you don't, crash into a tree or inappropriately touch your riders, you're pretty well safe as a driver. But if you're getting paid by the hour, if you're an employee, you can guarantee there's going to be standards, and not everybody's going to keep their job. If you're not producing, you're out. It's going to be a mess. And as soon as this rule, as soon as Assembly Bill 5 was passed, I said, this is the end of Uber and Lyft in California. I knew it wouldn't be immediate. I knew that it was going to go to court. There is no way this didn't go to court.
Do you think this is going to like reverberate throughout the U.S.?
I think that this is a test case. Abram and I talked about this last year when all this started, and we decided that this was a test case. And California is a good place for a test case because they don't care about businesses. So they're going to do whatever they're going to do. And so we figured this was a test case, and that based on the outcome of this, you'd see some of the other business unfriendly states for sure try it. You're not going to see Texas do it. You're not going to see Florida do it. But, if California is able to pull it off and Uber and Lyft don't leave, which is my suspicion, but if they don't leave entirely, you'll see New York do it. You'll see New Jersey do it. You'll see Connecticut do it. New Hampshire, states like that. But you won't see Texas or Florida or as weird as it sounds, basically any of the states that seceded, you won't see them give it a try. But you'll see some of the northern states try it.
Yeah, I don't think New Jersey would. But I also believe that it's for me, I guess because from what I saw, this has been blown up like across the news wires all week, and it's also been
because it's a mess.
Yeah, and it's been like, holy moly, that's crazy. I mean, but I just think that there's so much pressure that I don't know if it's the pressure from the drivers themselves, or is it, so that's where, how did that, like, was it more pressure on the drivers, or was it the public, or was it both?
I don't think it was either.
It wasn't? Okay.
I think it was from the state, personally.
Okay.
There was talk that there was driver interest, but I don't know any drivers for any of the services that are in favor of this, because all of the freedoms of being a business owner, all of the freedoms of being able to set your own hours, set your own routes, say yes and no to rides, which I guarantee you won't be able to do anymore if you're on the clock. They're going to assign you rides. If you're the closest one, you're taking it, and I don't care. You're going to lose all of that. All of the things that make the gig economy work will go away.
Because
and I don't know any drivers in any state. I know drivers in Florida. I know drivers in New York. I know drivers in California. Obviously, we know a lot of drivers in Las Vegas. And I was polling all of them in January, and everybody's like, it would be the end of the thing. Nobody would want to drive anymore. So,
yeah, and I've spoken to, I've taken Lyft. I'm not Uber, because Uber, I don't know. I like Lyft for a reason, but I've taken, the same with me. They love it. They can set their own hours, and and they can make really good money. In fact, the one time, speaking in January when I came back, this was like, I think 12 a.m. and the guy that I spoke to said he makes more money in the overnight than he does during the week, and like during rush hour, what have you. I'm like, and he gave me the amount. I'm like, I just like, wait, what?
Yeah. I know in Vegas, some of those drivers some of those drivers compete with me for what I make.
Wow. No kidding.
Which is not a small amount. I'm not going to say how much, but
no, right.
But I mean, I'm a full-time software engineer, a senior software engineer for a Fortune 500 company. And some of these drivers are challenging me for a take home. I mean, and all of a sudden, you know, the state wants to say you're employees. And so now you have to work your hours because, you know, the way the gig economy works is, you know, that in Vegas, there are certain hours, and we'll use Vegas because it's a great example of this. You know that there are certain hours of the day that are higher trafficked than others. So you're going to focus on that. You know that certain times a year there are events. So you know to go to those areas, right? You know during CES, you know in the mornings to go to the partner hotels that are not on the bus.
Right.
And you know in the evening to hang out near the convention centers.
Right.
But if you're an employee, Uber is going to, because I know very in depth because I worked with the cab companies on a project. I know how they work. They're going to assign you to a zone, and you cannot leave that zone unless you're on a drive.
Right.
And so you get assigned to 2 PM at Circus. Oh, you're not going to make that. There's nothing.
Right.
But if you're able to be, you know, 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night at Planet Hollywood, you're going to make money there. So, you know, this would ruin everything. And I don't think that the companies want to adjust their business model and the way their systems work enough to support this, because it would be expensive to do and their experience is going to go down. So I think this ends the same way that that the Google tax did in Spain, where in the end Google pulled Google News out of Spain. They said, we're out, bye-bye. And it wasn't until Spain lifted that stupid rule that Google came back. They literally left the country. Bye-bye, we're out. I have a feeling that's what happens here, and they put pressure on them.
Well, especially with Vegas, with a lot of that I was watching, I think it was a news report that they're losing so much revenue from but from June to now, where I believe, and they're losing money hand over fist. So when that city's losing money hand over fist, but also it's affecting the little people, including Uber, you know, and Lyft drivers, which is going to be a huge impact on their economy. So,
Sure.
You know, so something tells me, you know, with this, you know, they're going to cut
their losses.
Exactly. You got it. Exactly.
And you want to know how much trouble Vegas is in right now? You can get at the Bellagio. They've got a deal. They're calling it work from Vegas.
I saw that.
Right? I think they sent it to the CES press list. So they're doing this thing where they're calling it work from Vegas, where you can get one of the Fountain View suites for $170 a night. You get a concierge. You get somebody who will schedule appointments and schedule dinner reservations and event reservations. If you want to go see the Tigers at MGM, that's all built in. On the 180, they give you, I think, $70 a day in food credits.
I saw that.
And you've got all of your stuff built in, right? You've got your internet, you've got a Fountain View room. I mean, come on. That room alone is usually $450 a night.
Right.
Honest to God, if it wasn't for the thing that Avram keeps talking about, where if you get sick while you're out there, you're stuck because you can't get on a plane and come back and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
If it weren't for that, I might take him up on it. I've
Same.
seriously considered it. It would be fun to go out there for a week and stay in one of the Fountain View suites and watch the fountains from upstairs. And come on, that's crazy.
When I saw that, yeah, I'm like you. I was like,
It's like, can I pay for that now and use it next January?
Right.
Can you take my money now and we'll just hold it? Because that's the room that they use when Hell's Kitchen goes to Vegas, is those Fountain View suites. So I know what they look like, and they're beautiful. And yes, I would like to stay there, please.
You're killing me with that now. You're killing me with that now.
Anyway,
yikes.
So that's how much trouble Vegas is in. And so, all of the support companies are in just as much trouble. And Uber and Lyft are probably the biggest of the support companies. So rough time. And to add more expense on top of it.
Yep. Got it. Oh boy, we'll see what happens. All right. In other news, Motorola has sent out teasers for its next major smartphone, possibly the 5G upgraded second-gen version of its foldable Razr flagship, which the company will announce on September 9th and promises will, quote, flip the smartphone experience once again. Okay, whatever that means. There wasn't a whole lot of information in the teaser. There was a short clip showing a side view of a mobile phone. It's similar to the design of the 2020 Razr being shut. If that wasn't enough evidence, Motorola also appears to be using the same font as its Razr device from last year, which teased with the similar tagline, "You're going to flip." Again, okay, whatever. Apparently, there's been rumors of a revamped 5G Razr have been swirling for months. It's rumored to feature a larger 6.2 screen, an improved 48 megapixel camera, and overall boosted specs with 8 gig RAM, 256 gigabyte internal storage, and a 2845 milliamp battery. There's improvements over the original. It's also reportedly set to feature a Qualcomm Snapdragon 765 processor, which will also enable 5G support on the new phone. This is from XDA developers. Number one, Motorola hasn't had a good phone in like the past 3 to 4 years. Number two, what is up with we're gonna get to our flip phone news later. Number three, the Razr. I had a Razr back in the day. So are they trying to ring the same bell twice?
Yeah, the Razr is the reason why anybody knows Motorola's name today. Because I can tell you the V60 was not the phone that was going to make people remember Motorola going forward. But the Razr was a cultural phenomenon. And the idea that it was like the big cultural flip phone. And now that we're doing these bendy screens for better or worse, it's I understand how you look at that and go, the Razr, especially if you're Motorola, you look at it and go, hey, that's us. It's our time to shine again. But the technology is not ready for anybody to shine, as even Samsung is learning. And so I'm a big supporter of people supporting technologies, even in their early days, that you want to see succeed. Yes. I was a big supporter of Qi from the day they announced it, the wireless charging standard, because Samsung's standard sucked. And in the end, it went away. I am a big fan of transparent LCD screens. And so I have a Johnson Controls glass thermostat because it's the first big commercial product with a transparent LCD screen. But I am not a big enough fan of the bendy screen to deal with the disadvantages right now, because those products work. These not so much. I am a big fan of the foldable phone, which is why the next topic makes me happy.
Yep.
And I got my confirmation this week.
Oh boy.
But yeah, these bendy screens are they're not ready for prime time. I don't think they're ready to be on a product yet. And so I'm not excited about these things yet. I'm excited about them conceptually. I'm not excited about the technology because it's not ready for prime time. To kind of confirm that the Razr, that a 5G Razr is what's going on, Motorola has put on their site this week, and just bear with me for a second. They have listed on their site this week one of those inflatable chairs with the Motorola logo on it. Now, let me explain why that's important. When the Brew version of the Razr, the 3G version of the Razr, was released, because it released on 2G, and then like the second or third generation added 3G support to the Razr. When that launched, Motorola ran a promotion with the NFL where if you bought a 3G Razr at a Radio Shack, you got an inflatable chair with the Motorola logo on it.
Stop.
So for sure, I've still got one. For sure. Brand new in packaging. It was one of the ones that at the end of the promotion was still left. It's in the closet right there. So the fact that they have literally brought back a similar version, a similar promotion, sure, they're selling it separately, but for all we know, they might include it with a purchase. Definitely lends extra credence for those of us who've been around for too long that they're doing a technology upgrade on the Razr, because this is the exact same thing they did when they went from 2 to 3. For them to be going from 4 to 5 to run the same promotion would be amazing. And the Razr is so like early 2000s-y. That's that kind of feel. Right. So are those chairs. So I think everything is pointing to a 5G Razr. And I know I told you you guys to bear with me, because it was going to sound weird, but I think that's enough proof at this point that they've literally gone back in time, not just for the phone, but for a promotion. I think it makes sense.
I'm just kind of like, I'm still like stunned that they had a promotion for the chair.
It was blue. It was Motorola blue. This one is rose gold, I think.
Oh gee.
It's horrible. Oh, it looks so bad. They should have just done the Motorola blue again.
Oh my goodness. And here's the thing, like with 5G isn't really, it's in small pockets. It's in some cities, but not, so
we're starting to see stuff go live though. T-Mobile flipped a switch 2 weeks ago, and AT&T flipped one this week to go way bigger on their network. Okay. Wow. So we're starting to see a reason to have it.
True,
but we don't have a great reason yet.
Right.
But if you're a big business traveler or whatever, we're starting to see a reason for it.
Oh yeah, well that makes sense for that. But as far as 5G, I have Verizon.
You and I aren't going to care yet.
Right. Exactly. But I think
our next devices. Will care.
Right.
And I was there, like I had a Sprint 3G phone I think it was 3 weeks after the technology was public. I had both a Sprint and a Verizon 4G phone when they launched. I had a WiMAX device, I had an LTE device when they launched. And I don't care yet on this one, because they're not launching it the same way they did in the past.
Right.
When WiMAX went live to customers, it went live nationwide. When Verizon and and T-Mobile went live with LTE. They did it nationwide. AT&T didn't. And that's not what we're seeing with 5G. Granted, people aren't moving around right now, so a nationwide rollout's not as important.
Exactly.
And the 5G is way more expensive to put into place because it required new spectrum. So there's lots of cost involved in it. So I can get it, but skipping that nationwide rollout, I think, is a mistake. It's worked in the past. It's not working now.
Right. Well,
it's getting me not to care about getting a 5G phone right now.
Right. And you're right. With me, I don't really care right now, but you're absolutely right. I'm hoping for the Pixel 5, and there's rumors flying around that there's only the one Pixel 5 XL might be 5G. But I'm like, oh, I love the Pixel brand, and I had Motorola phones for years, and I wasn't, and when they started, like, first they had it was Motorola, then Google bought them, then Lenovo, and now I don't know who owns Motorola now, and they're
I think they're still part of Lenovo.
Oh, they're still part of Lenovo? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. But the quality and of their phones and has deteriorated rapidly. Their cameras would be like great on their phones, and their camera quality over the years sucked. So when I look at the Pixels, the camera quality, the build quality is great. I'm in love with them. So, but I'm just like, I have my doubts on this Razr, or if it's going to be a Razr, and if it's going to have 5G. So I have my trepidations about it. So. So we'll know what's going on in September, and we'll see if we're going to flip. Excuse the pun.
It's so bad.
I know, right? Yeah. All right, other news this week. Yesterday, Microsoft made several announcements, and Scott alluded to that in a second. First, the company has confirmed that the Xbox Series X is formally launching in November, which will support for thousands of games. Second, Halo Infinite has been delayed and will now ship sometime in 2021. According to 343 Industries, delays were driven by the realities of COVID-19's impact on the video game industry, as well as a need to safeguard a team's health and well-being.
Yeah, there was no way to avoid this one.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're going to hear more games do it. They were the first ones to be honest about it. Anybody else who hasn't said that their production date is getting pushed back is not being honest with themselves, in the same way that CES wasn't honest with themselves about canceling the in-person. I think it's the same thing. I think any game studio who's not saying our schedule is not going to happen is not being honest with themselves.
Right. Absolutely. And also, too, according to Microsoft, there are more than 50 games developed across generational families launching before the end of the year. These will support smart delivery, meaning you'll only have to buy them once across both console generations. This list includes Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Dirt 5, Gear Tactics, Yakuza Like a Dragon, and Watch Dogs Legion. Other titles have yet to be announced. And the number of games actually developed for Xbox Series X launching with Xbox Game Pass support is small, with only 3 exclusive listed: the Medium, Scorn, and Tetris Effect Connected. Tetris Effect Connected is a multiplayer extension of the original Tetris Effect title that came out back in 2018. And also Microsoft is noting that there are more than 40 titles, quote, newly optimized, take on advantage of Xbox Series X, including Destiny 2, Forza Horizon 5, Gears 5, Ori, and the Will of the Wisps, and Madden NFL 21. I don't know what Will of the Wisps is.
Okay. So the thing to remember about all of this is that the Xbox Series, which is what I'm going to call it, I'm not going to put the letter on there, and I'll tell you why in a second. The Xbox Series generation is less like a whole new generation and more the next evolution of Xbox. Because they're doing all of this major backwards compatibility, which is definitely something that Xbox One introduced, but Series is definitely going to enhance. And there's a ton of games that are literally being enhanced for the new Xbox Series. And since basically everything that's being developed now can play on both, when the new hardware launches, you'll basically have the ability to choose the new hardware at probably a similar price point, without giving up anything you already have, being able to play your entire catalog and new games coming. And while all of the attention has been put on Xbox Series X, because it's the only thing Microsoft has talked about, there is another console coming. It is the Xbox Series S. They have not talked about it. However, there are renderings of it, and it has been confirmed on product packaging by Microsoft. A controller was shipped with the new packaging, and it says Xbox Series S/X. So, for sure, there is a second console coming. And it will be, basically, they will be the replacements for the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X. Replace the word one with Series. You're just getting new hardware, upgraded graphics. You'll be able to play everything you already own, and new games coming that are optimized for it. That's how it's going to work. And a lot of developers are going to continue to make a version compiled for the One and a version compiled for the Series. So
let me ask you this: so will the Xbox Series S that's coming, that's been shown, are they going to basically call out Sony on next year, or are they just going to hold it to their vest until how they see the Xbox X or Series X? Wow, wait.
they're going to be price compared. The idea with the S and the X now is that the S is your regular consumer product, and your X has the upgraded controller, has higher graphics, has the, all kinds of capabilities the S doesn't have, just more powerful hardware. And that's what we'll see here. The S is, based on the renderings, is almost half the height of the X. It's barely taller than a controller. All of the renderings for that have been white, while all of the renderings for the X have been black. Whether or not that will be the way they actually launch is totally up for guessing. But basically, my guess is they're going to be your 250 and 350 consoles, or your 300 and 400 consoles for price points. Just, you're going to pay a little bit more. You're going to have more graphics capabilities. The S will essentially probably be a very similar linear upgrade to the current S, just like the X is a pretty linear upgrade to the current X. So there's a lot of things going on here. It's not this big, like, we went from the 360 to the One, and you've got to have both if you want to play the games. And then later on, we started to see Xbox 360 games come to the One, and they came one at a time or 3 a week, or on the new one, you're basically going to play anything you can play on the One, you're going to play on the Series day one. So they're pretty linear. It's kind of like the Razr, right? The new Razr is going to have 5G. Great. If you care about that, upgrade. If you don't, keep using the one you have, because you're not really going to be out anything. And when you get the new one, if you decide you want the 5G, you don't need the 4G anymore. And it's basically how this is going to work.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Which is very different from the past, and probably very different from how the PlayStation ends up going. Because I don't think you're going to be able to put a PS2 game into a PS5 and play it. But I have very strong suspicions that you'll be able to put an Xbox 360 game into an X, or be able to prove ownership and download it to it and be able to play on day one.
Well, I know that there's been a lot of talk about for for the past several years that backward compatibility was like that's what people want for like God
Mhm.
knows how long, and also too, it's like it's going to be an interesting matchup to see Sony, but Microsoft really has been the juggernaut of gaming, in the juggernaut. So it's going to be interesting.
Until this last generation.
Exactly right. Exactly.
They certainly gave up that mantle, didn't they?
Right. Yep. Hmm. Yep. Yep. All right. And lastly, for Microsoft, they revealed Microsoft's first Android phone, the Surface Duo. It will retail at $1,399.
Is a tremendous amount of money.
Oh my dear God. It has two 5.6-inch screens combined into one larger 8-inch pixel sense fusion display. It's all held together by, quote, revolutionary 360-degree hinge, and the device will be 4.8 millimeters thick in its unfolded form. According to Microsoft, that makes it the thinnest, quote, the thinnest mobile device on the market.
I don't know that they said the thinnest mobile device on the market. I believe they said the thinnest Surface ever.
Oh, okay.
To be fair, I think the quote was that it is the thinnest Surface device ever, which is very true.
Okay.
So there's a couple of things about the Surface Duo that have been the reason why I've been excited. And the reason why getting my confirmation that I'm getting one is super exciting. So first, the dual screen, not the bendy screen, but the dual screen with a very small gap between them. There's big bezels. Yes, we're all there. It looks like a 3DS. I got it. There's big bezels, but the actual gap between the screens is pretty small. The fact that you can run two apps, top and bottom, the fact that there is an SDK to allow for single screen apps or dual screen apps. So like think about having your email open, and on the left screen you've got your inbox, and on the right screen you've got your emails. So you can look at your inbox, tap one, it'll come up on the right. You can hit reply and it'll come up with the keyboard. You can then turn it sideways. The bottom becomes the keyboard, the top becomes the reply. You can type on a significantly bigger keyboard, hit send, flip it back, you've got your inbox and your message. That kind of thing is really cool. The ability to have two browsers side by side, for me, even better. But it also works with the Surface Pen. So it has active stylus support, which means that this little phone can do up to 2048 levels of pressure sensitivity. So it can literally be used as an on-the-go artist's tool.
Okay.
There's a lot going on here that's bigger than a phone with last year's technology in it, which I admit, I know. And so does my current phone, has last year's technology in it. Right? So okay, and it works well. I've got a Samsung Galaxy S10. It's kind of 2 years old now, So, all right. So the insides were a little old, but some of the stuff that it's doing and attempting to do are exciting. And this brings me back to I'm willing to support technologies that I believe in, even if they're not quite everything.
Let me point this out, put this out to you. Now, Microsoft had Windows Mobile for a very long time.
And then renamed it to Windows Phone.
Right, exactly.
And then back to Windows Mobile.
Exactly. Okay, so I'm not going to be a doubting Thomas. I know that you're like heavily into this and all in. Do you think that since they're going into which is, do you think this is going to be a smart move now going back into the smartphone market, knowing of all the players are out there right now? Do you think that this phone is going to hold its own?
Yes. It has a thing that sets it apart that isn't a gimmick, because obviously some things are gimmicks. The Razr is a gimmick.
Right. Galaxy Fold Flip is a
the Razr is playing on nostalgia, which is a gimmick. The Galaxy Flip is playing on people's desire for a new technology. They're a little different. Razr is leaning on nostalgia, which I don't like because that's a gimmick. Microsoft has a unique thing here. They've got a thing that's setting them apart, and that's the dual screen. I'll tell you that even the Kyocera dual screen phone did well 10 years ago because it's a good idea. But Android wasn't ready for it then. It's ready for it now. Microsoft is on the official board for Android, which is bonkers. They are official contributors to Android now. So some of their betterments are going back into the ecosystem. Some of their betterments are specific for their device. So the SDK to do those dual screen, single screen experiences are Surface Duo specific, which is fine. But they're not trying to fight an existing developer ecosystem. iOS and Android own the space, although after Epic is done with them, maybe not. And I will be talking about that on Sunday. After Epic is done with Apple and Google, they may not own the space in the way that they do today, but Microsoft's not trying to create a new operating system. They're doing what Samsung did. They're going with Android, and they're putting some UI stuff on top of it. It'll feel familiar a little familiar for people who used Windows 10 mobile, and it'll feel familiar for people with Android. So I think they've made the right compromises. I think they've made the right upgrades. I wish the hardware was a little more now, but considering this device was first pitched in 2009, it is what it is. But the Courier in 2009 was something that every tech blog was talking about. Everybody wanted a Courier. And then Microsoft in 2010 went, oh yeah, by the way, that's not a real product. We're not actually making it. Oh. And now here we are a decade later, and the Courier is kind of coming to market. Partially in the Surface Duo and partially in the Surface Neo. The Neo is a little closer to the Courier than the Duo is, but this is the fulfillment of a promise that wasn't made that the tech industry wanted. Everybody wanted a Courier. I knew Apple fanboys who were like, that Courier's awesome. I want one yesterday. So they're finally making good on a promise they never made. And I think it's going to work because it's not gimmicky, but it's unique.
Right.
If it was gimmicky, I wouldn't be into it.
Right. No, I get it. I get it. And I'm just like, because I'm just really like, again, with a lot of the smartphone makers out there and or companies, I mean, if Microsoft's going, balls in, God bless them. I'm just kind of concerned that they, with all the everything that's out there now, I'm like, it's going to be like another repeat from years ago where they was like, okay, we're going to be in with the product and we're all for it, and then not take them right off a loss like they when Nokia ripped them off. So
I've been in this game for a long time. This is a Windows phone.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
And this, when we got into this ecosystem, we knew that this was going to be a disappointment. Everybody went into this going, this is way better and it's never going to work. Because the Zune was way better and it was never going to work. But, TCL has just entered the phone market. And by just, I mean, I think their first phones are coming out now. They're literally just entering the phone market, and they're going to make a big play at it. They're gonna
Right.
they're gonna be trouble for companies like Huawei. They're gonna be trouble for companies like Motorola. They might even be trouble for companies like HTC. I truly think TCL is coming for the bottom of the barrel. You've got Samsung spending a lot of time on nonsense. And you've got Microsoft with the Surface brand that means something, especially in business, going after a business product. I think they got it. And when you add the Surface Pen into the mix, now you've got artists that can sketch and draw with a proper pressure sensitivity on a phone. You know, Samsung's been the only one to do that, and they've never had a pen as powerful as the Surface Pen. I think there's space here. Now, Microsoft could screw it up.
Well,
I mean,
that's where
go ask them how the Harman Kardon Invoke worked out. But but you know, they could definitely screw it up like they did with Cortana. But I don't think they will, because their hardware division, the Surface division, the hardware division has been so impressive that they get called out specifically in earnings reports. So I think they're going to play on that.
Okay.
Yes, I'll be able to tell you by September 10th.
I would love to hear that, but also I don't want to be, I may be a little bit optimistic, but also I'm just,
I'm trying to be realistic about it, and I think when the Surface came out, the Surface tablets came out, the Surface tables came out, I knew that there was nothing. A contract with T-Mobile for 1,500 devices wasn't going to keep that division alive, and it didn't. 8 of them at Tau. The Venetian wasn't going to keep that division moving. But when they announced that the Surface brand was moving to tablets, I was concerned. I didn't think Microsoft was going to pull it off. I really didn't. But we're like 17, 19 devices in under the Surface brand, and they've all worked. I think they've got a brand that works here.
Okay.
So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that it's going to be a Surface device and not just a device with the Surface name on it. If it's a Surface device, it'll work. If it's just an Android phone that has the Surface name on it, it won't. So it's got to have all the quality of the Surface devices to work.
Well, I'm going to keep my fingers crossed. I'll be rooting for him. I
got one coming.
I know. So again, that's why I'm keeping my fingers crossed. All right. In other news this week, speaking of Uber, we talked about and Lyft. Lyft reported second quarter earnings on Wednesday, which showed a 61% revenue drop versus the same period last year. But,
which sounds terrible, but honest to God, that's the best they could have hoped for.
Right. Yeah. Which is
a shining star in the gig economy right now.
Exactly. But there was a glimmer of hope for its core ride-hailing business, with monthly riders increasing 70% in July as compared to April, which is also good. President and co-founder of Lyft, John Zimmer, said in an earnings call on Wednesday that the company may need to suspend its ride-hailing operations in California starting on August 21st. We talked about that a second ago. That the court has overturned its recent ruling, which requires the company to classify drivers as employees eligible for benefits, not independent contractors. Just a little breakdown on the report. Loss per share, 85 cents adjusted versus expected 99% adjusted. Revenue, $339 million versus $337 million expected. Active riders, 8.7 million. Revenue per active rider, $39.06.
Wow.
Yeah, which that was a shocker to me as well. The company did not offer top-line guidance, but it said on track to achieve profitability on an adjusted basis during the fourth quarter of next year. It expects to become profitable with 20% to 25% fewer rides than it had predicted as of October 2019. So with this pandemic going on, it's they're still not great, but at least it's improving. We're having a bump in a bump.
Yeah. I mean 78% increase from April. From the same month last quarter is good. That means that the world is starting to spin a little bit again, which is a good sign. But losing I would say the potential of losing 16% of all hails, and potentially long term or permanently, depending on how aggressive they want to be with the state. That could be a big deal, but 16% decrease in rides versus there have been some estimates that the cost increase could be as much as 80% if this California thing goes into effect. I mean, that's almost double their cost in California. They'd have to double their rides,
right?
So losing the 16% versus having to do double that just to make the same amount, it might actually work out. Like
not to mention the revenue per active driver is going to drop considerably.
Yeah I'm impressed by the revenue per active rider. 3906.
Yeah. Does that include?
I mean, during events and stuff, we skew that a little bit, but not that much. That's crazy.
No,
3906. But the one of the things that I keep talking about when it comes to this California thing is that the millennial generation was the first to be like, yeah, we don't really need cars. Like the millennials kind of skipped buying cars at a greater percentage than I think any generation since cars became mainstream. And they've really relied on, and I say they, even though I'm 18 days into it, I don't consider myself to be part of that generation because I don't match any of the specs. But they kind of relied on Uber and Lyft and stuff like that, especially in the last 6 or 7 years. And so for it to disappear, especially in California, where it's even more common, is going to be a mess. But that explains why California is 16%.
Right.
I get it. I understand why it's 16%, but my goodness, that's a big percentage.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, but I think like you said, how things are. I guess that things are not really, somewhat, going back to normal, but going back to with California and everything, if because there's also talk of another shutdown. If that happens, the heck with that bill and everything else, and they're going to be really screwed. I mean,
yeah, they're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. All right. Speaking of TCL, earlier from its phones, they have unveiled its 6 series lineup of 4K TVs. To start with, the sets all use TCL's QLED and mini LED tech with up to 240 local dimming zones. That delivers high brightness and OLED with better contrast control than regular QLED TVs, together with Dolby Vision along with HDR10 and HLG. That means you'll see movies with extra pop and color, but fewer weird lighting artifacts. The 6 series TVs also first with THX's certified gaming mode that feature guarantees high fidelity for color, tone, and images, along with judder and smear reduction and quick latency between light and dark transitions. The 2026 series started at $649 for the 55-inch model, while the 65-inch and 75-inch TVs cost $899 and $1,399 respectively. TCL also unveiled the 5 series TV with even lower prices. You will still get QLED tech, albeit with fewer local dimming zones, up to 80. along with Dolby Vision and TCL's bezel-free designs. However, the 50-inch model starts at $400. The company is also selling its 55, 65, and 75-inch models with $450, $630, and $1,100 each, respectively. I saw those TVs, and they are like drop-dead gorgeous.
Yeah, especially the 6 series. The thing that makes those special is those dimming zones. And so the drop from 240 to 80 is huge. So if you're really looking for every square inch of that screen to be just the right color, those local dimming zones are what do it. You take your screen, split it up into little sections, 240 little sections, and there's an individual backlight for each one that's controlled based on the color and the brightness that's supposed to be in that zone. So you can actually control the color even deeper that way. It's so impressive. TCL has been on fire when it comes to their TVs. I mean, when we talked to them in January, we've talked to them every year for the last couple of years. And this is their business. Like, this is their core. Yes, they're making phones. But their business is this. They know who they are. And so they got really good at TVs. They got really good at screens. And now they're basically looking at other things that are also screens. And that's where the phones came from. So even though the phones are super inexpensive, the screens are top notch because they're still a screen company that's putting things behind it. In one case, it's a TV. In one case, it's a radio. But yeah, the 6 series screens are incredible. And I'll tell you, a 4K QLED screen in what was it, 75 inches for $13.99 is surprisingly inexpensive. Because if you were to get the same thing from Samsung, it's $7,000.
Yep.
So TCL both knows who they are as a screen company and as the low-cost leader. They're Walmart, and we all know it. And it's fine. They know it. They're proud of it, and they support it, and they do everything they can to make sure that they're the Walmart of televisions.
Right.
And it's working real well for them. Hisense can't touch them.
Right.
They've tried.
So when I saw the TVs, I was like, and I was impressed with the bezel-less screens. When I saw the phones, I mean, I was okay with I was impressed with the phones. They're okay, but when I see them like up close, I mean, I was like, my eyes got big, jaw hit the floor. I'm like, wow. I was like really impressed with it, and they make some really good, excellent TVs. And
and one of the things that, like, you can tell that a company is confident in their television when in a big conference room they're willing to turn it on stage, because they're not afraid that the people in the back are going to get a picture that makes it look like garbage. They know that even from the back of a conference room, that color is still sharp.
Right.
That's when you know a company's confident in their television. Samsung doesn't turn their TVs on stage.
No.
LG sure doesn't they don't even bring their TVs on stage anymore. But TCL, they turn them on, they show them in action up on the stage. They're like, see, look how bright and colorful these are, even for you guys in the back. And everybody cheers. Woo! Yep. That's confidence in your television.
Right. And hopefully, I still have a Toshiba, so hopefully my next go around we get one.
My brother just got one.
Oh, okay.
He got I think he got a 6 series. Obviously the 2019 6 series, since these aren't out yet. But I mean, it is, you always worry when you're at a trade show. You're like, is this the product that's going to come to market? It is.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that don't realize that when there's products that come out, they may or may not come out.
And they might get altered. And the thing that's on display may be a prototype that's using, and I can tell you from personal experience from one of our guests on the show this year that the product that was being displayed in the booth was not real. It was absolutely a fake prototype using the old product inside of a new case. So what you see at a trade show in a booth is not necessarily what's coming to market.
And speaking of an interview, I'll talk about it off air about something. You know what it is when you told me about the interview with you told me about. I'll tell you because I was like, whoa. So off air I'll
okay. I look forward to that.
All right. In other video news, Apple is still looking for ways to promote its Apple TV Plus streaming service. Its next attempt may be to offer subscribers a discounted CBS All Access and Showtime bundle. People familiar with the plans told Bloomberg the new bundle could launch as early as this Monday. According to Bloomberg, Apple TV Plus subscribers will be able to access CBS and Showtime channels in the Apple TV app for $9 per month, $9.99 per month. Typically, CBS All Access
together.
Oh,
okay.
When I saw this, I don't have Apple TV, but I'm like, oh. Typically, CBS All Access costs $9.99 per month, and Showtime $10.99 per month. Users will need to pay $4.99 per month fee for Apple TV Plus. When I saw this, I was like, oh, if I had Apple TV, I would jump on this in a heartbeat. Because
have you got a Roku?
No.
See, Roku also supports Apple TV. There's an Apple TV app for Roku.
Okay.
If only we could get it to come to Xbox.
No, you tell me. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was because I have everything that I have is separate because I do have Amazon Prime and I have access CBS All Access on that and
okay.
But it's separate. So if I had Apple TV Plus, well, now I knew it was Roku, I would jump this on heartbeat. And also, there's other rumors flying around. The Apple TV Plus is going to start doing their own subscription service called Apple One. Nothing's been set in stone as of yet.
It's basically, the rumor is that it's basically Apple's answer to Amazon Prime, where you've got with Prime, you've got TV, you've got movies and music and gaming and reading and all these things built into one thing. And Apple One would be a similar thing where Apple Music, Apple News Plus, Apple TV Plus would all be in a single subscription, and Apple Gaming, Apple Arcade, which I've been expecting this. I've been expecting this for like 2 years. I'm surprised that it's taken this long. There was talk of this before Apple News Plus launched a year ago.
Right.
So I'm surprised that it hasn't happened. And it's the next obvious thing for the company.
Right. Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, if I had known for Roku, I don't have Roku, but I'm so tired of not only spending Amazon, access, but I'm paying separately with Hulu, with Showtime, and I have Netflix. Excuse me. And I am sad to say I have HBO Max, which I'm doubting it. Which I'm doubting my.
Oh yeah, well I have a subscription to Quibi. It's a free one, but.
Okay, so I'm not bad with being mournful that but I think that but Apple's basically they're saying that they want to be their own subscription, all one ecosystem, everything's included, and and with the price, the price can't be beat with it. So, but I just wish they would have. I just wish that had I known this, if I would have. Well, I'm not really in Apple stuff, but
well, if all of this comes to pass, one of the things to know is that the Apple TV app, and assuming that all of this stuff works within it, which based on my experience it will, the Apple TV app, including Apple TV Plus, is available on a bunch of Samsung TVs, on most of the Roku devices, on Amazon Fire TVs, on LG TVs. It's available in a lot of places. So you don't actually have to be in the Apple ecosystem necessarily to be able to take advantage of it, which is a good thing. That's kind of Apple pulling away from their more traditional belief that if you don't have an Apple device, you can sit on it. That's been Apple's thing. But when they bought Beats and they ended up with Beats Music on Android, that changed them because they started to see revenue from a platform they didn't have to maintain.
Well, it's good. All right. Well, it's good to know that there are some things available because but my wife has my family. Well, that's a whole different story altogether. So,
so there are options. So if this turns out to be the best way to do it, if it turns out that this is the inexpensive way to go, there's lots of people that can take advantage of it, even if you're not an Apple customer. So remember that. Plus, you can watch it. You can use some of this stuff in the browser.
Right.
So,
okay. Well, it's good on that. All right. Very good. All right. And we're going to go into lastly with some video news over on makeuseof.com. The 16, I guess they're calling their own, there are 16 best documentaries on Netflix in 2020. There's the best war documentaries on Netflix. There's the Vietnam War, World War II in color, November 13th attack on Paris, the best space documentaries on Netflix. I should have passed this on to Todd. There's Year in Space, the best nature documentaries on Netflix. And there's a lot here. So we'll have a link up in the show notes so you can check out on that. In the Do You Need Help with Your Tech this week over on AndroidCentral.com. What to do if you're locked out of your phone after resetting it. So it'll walk you through step by step. I need to walk you through step by step on how to do that. Like, for example, do I need to know the old account information? Setting your password. What should I do if I don't know the password? Which happens to me from time to time.
I think we've all been there, my friend.
Right. And over on, on Tech Hive, the best smart switches and dimmers lighting is the foundation of the smart home. They'll give you a long list here. It'll take me until later on, till late in the evening. Over on AndroidCentral.com, 5 things parents need to know about buying their kid a Chromebook. It'll update to a breeze. They're incredibly secure. They can run Android apps. Great integration with Android phones. And I gotta say, my daughter has. I gave her mine, but I got it for free. So, but I got it for my daughter. She loves it. So I highly recommend if you're getting, if you're going back to school. A lot of people are probably remote learning. Chromebook is the way to go for me, my mind. And lastly, over on AndroidEssential.com, the best mental health apps for Android. We all can use now again some mental health and with all this stuff going on in the world. So Android Central's got their pick of best apps. There's Calm. There's so many honking ads on here. What's Up, MovePath. There's other options here. I heard about Calm. Calm is pretty good. I don't know about these other ones though. So I'll have a link up in the show notes that you can check out on that. And finally, Who remembers Blockbuster?
Oh yeah. Oh, poor Blockbuster.
Now, the last Blockbuster in the world, located in Bend, Oregon, will be available to rent on Airbnb for a 3 one-night stays in September, complete with the recreation of a 1990s living room and all the snacks and movies you can handle. Reservations will go live this Monday, August 17th at 1 p.m. Pacific, and the available dates are September 18th, 19th, and 20th. Up to 4 people can attend each night of sleepover, though only residents of Deschutes County have invited to book. This whole event is an act of local appreciation from store manager Sandy Harding. She says, quote, "Our Blockbuster store is open because of the incredible local community in Bend and have been grateful to have the support of those beyond our town as the coronavirus pandemic has impacted our business. To celebrate and pay it forward in this tradition of support, Airbnb will make a donation to the Humane Society of Central Oregon, a longtime partner of ours." And I'm going to pull up right now the Airbnb
Listing.
listing. Excuse me. Right. Thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Because they won't load for me. So
Um,
I appreciate
so
that.
while I'm so it'll pull up here. There we go. So here is the Blockbuster sign. And if you're just watching on video, I'm showing a picture from watching on live.
I notice
it's
that
on
it's
audio.
missing. I noticed that the sign is missing the cassette case.
Right.
It's just the text.
Right. It was around the corner. And there's the living room set. And the other shot.
See, now there's your case.
There's your cassette. Right.
There's your full logo. Thank goodness, because it would be super weird if the full logo wasn't there somewhere.
Right. And let's go to, and there's your DVD, there's your VCR set up there. And I think that's I don't know what that is. I think it's a tape deck.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
I wish I could get it to open here. Mine won't load.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a audio cassette.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
I was
right.
trying to figure out, based on the height of the deck, whether it was a regular cassette or an 8-track, but I know that they were saying that it was 90s nostalgia, so I figured it wasn't going to be an 8-track.
Right. And there's your snacks.
Oh my God. That is definitely a proper
placement.
Proper Blockbuster store fixture.
Mm-hmm.
I remember those store fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
Impressive.
And there's where you can sleep.
Yeah, there's your Saved by the Bell bed sheets.
Good call. Good call.
Could you call it anything else? I don't think so. I think by law that is required to be called Saved by the Bell bed sheets.
Right, and I love the quotes here. Let me go back here. I saw the quote here. I'm going to pull it up in a second.
Sorry, that says $4 per night.
Yes.
Okay, just had to call that out.
Okay, so I love the quote here. Okay. Whether you want to stay up until sunrise or pass out on the couch, we create a perfect space complete with pull-out couch, bean bags, and pillows for you to cozy up with, quote, new releases from the 90s, charting your future, crack open a 2-liter Pepsi before locking into a video game, charting your future in a game of MASH or watching movie after movie, but be wary of reciting, quote, Bloody Mary at the staff bathroom off the break room, as you just made something that goes rumored to haunt the store. and help yourself to some nerds, raisinets, and popcorn, heavy on the butter, but make sure you save room for a couple slices.
Wow. Blast the boombox. That's so funny. Oh, as somebody with one of the modern boomboxes from Monster, that's special. I've got a proper one, and I've got one of the new ones from Monster, so I can appreciate the boombox thing.
Oh my goodness! And it's the last one. So I think
because the one in Alaska closed in 2018.
Right. Yep. And
leaving Oregon as the last standing Blockbuster.
Last one. I wonder where it's going to be. I wonder what's going to be in its place.
It's the kind of thing that it's the last one. It draws people.
Right.
Yeah. It's an endling, I think is the term for it.
Mm-hmm.
The last of its kind is an endling, and endlings are valuable.
Mm-hmm. Oh boy, this has been a crazy year, and now
Indeed.
And now the last Blockbuster is going to go. So maybe you should drink when you have a drink tonight. Make sure to give a toast to the last Blockbuster in Oregon. And that is the tech news for this week. Very late on the tech news. But hey, what can you do? For Friday, August 14th, 2020. Thank you so much for tuning in for this week's episode. Show notes from this episode can be found at gncweekly.com. Also, be sure to check out the latest tech news and commentary from geeknewscentral.com. And be sure to tune in Mondays and Thursday evenings at geeknewscentral.com/live for the Geek News Central podcast. And then be sure to watch and tune in at gncweekly.com/live Friday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern. So please be sure to like and subscribe to the GNCWIR channel on YouTube. We really appreciate it. Or be sure to subscribe to this podcast on your favorite podcast app. And be sure to tune in with Scott and Evan Pelch on F5 Refreshing Technology Sunday evenings at 9 p.m. Eastern time over on plugitslive.com/join us. And the podcast also can be found also on your favorite podcast app. Comments on this week's episode, I'd love to hear from you, be it head on gncweekly.com/connect via email, Twitter, or Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm at Kirk Corliss. Scott is on Twitter at TTMABO. Till next time of the GNC Week in Review podcast, so long.